So I think it's best I start today's video by reintroducing myself. My name is Olushola Adigbite. I'm a Nigerian and I live in the UK with my family. The purpose of this YouTube channel is basically to document my thoughts, my life experiences, my perspective, particularly on Nigeria, my country, on our politics, leadership, how does Nigeria move forward, how does Nigeria become all that she ought to have become as a country, and generally on life matters. So, having done that, in today's video, my goal is to talk about, the issues around the Nigerian question, the Nigerian people. Of late, there's been some comments about, the Yorubas who are currently in power in Nigeria. President Tinubu is the Nigerian president, having become overtly tribalistic and ethnic, particularly all of the issues around Lagos, all of the backlash against the Igbos in Lagos, and whether Lagos belongs to Yorubas or Lagos is a no man's land and all that. And it is clear that the tension in Lagos, the reaction against persons of other ethnicities, and even across the entire country, it is clear that it's a major issue. So, but oftentimes, and even over the years, there's always this phraseology: Nigerians must come together. There's talk about unity in diversity. There's talk about national integration. Nigerians must come together. We are one people, and all of that. Now, so I get that, and all of that sounds very good and politically correct, and more like the right things to say. And of course, that is what the Nigerian Constitution, of course, professes, and what different documents, national policy, national developmental plans, and all that talk about. But I think, and this is my perspective, I think it is best that as a country we take some step back and call a spade, and be courageous enough to say the truth for what it is. Now, this is my view. Really, there is nothing, at least at this time, called Nigerians, or there is nothing, at least at this time, that you can call the Nigerian people. Now, you may disagree with me, and you may feel I'm not sounding politically correct, but that is the truth. And like I said, the goal of this video is to be able to share my thoughts, document my thoughts, my ideas concerning the Nigerian question, the Nigerian people, and how to move Nigeria forward and make her become what she ought to have become. So, is there anything like the Nigerian people? In my opinion, there is nothing like that. Rather, what you have are ethnicities. What you have are, you have the Yorubas, you have the Igbos, you have Fulanis, you have the Ijos, the Shekiris, the Idomas, name it, over 250 ethnic groups. That is what you have. And that is why you find that at different points in time, everybody crawls back into their ethnic shell. And everybody defends every national issue from an ethnic standpoint. It is the reason why you find that, at least since 1999, when democracy returned back to the country, every government that has come into power sort of has played the ethnic card. As a matter of fact, every president, from President Obasanjo to President Eradua to President Jonathan to President Buhari to the current President Tinubu, they have all ensured that when it comes to forming their governments, designing their governments, and their time in power, they have ensured to always surround themselves with people from their own ethnicity. Of course, they always say that is, important, because they feel safe with their own people and they can better trust their own people. But does that not tell us something very fundamental, that Nigerians are yet to become a people. Even though there is a country called Nigeria, rather, the whole idea of a Nigerian people is yet to come into being. What we have is different ethnicities struggling, contesting against each other. It is the reason why power is rotated continually, shifted from one region to the other, all in the name of trying to create a balance between the north and the south. And what you find is that at the end of the day, it doesn't profit either the north or the south, because politicians just cash in on that rotation and grab political power and do what they want to do. So that is the reality. It is the reason why up until now, no Nigerian, or no Igbo person has become the governor of Lagos State, can ever become the governor of Lagos State, doesn't even imagine becoming the governor of Lagos State. Why? Isn't Lagos supposed to be a part of the Nigerian territory where any Nigerian, notwithstanding the ethnicity, should be able to aspire to lead? It is the same reason why a Yoruba man can never imagine or dream to become the governor of Abia State, even though there is nothing in the Nigerian law prohibiting a Yoruba man from becoming the governor of Abia State. It is the same reason why an Igbo man cannot imagine in his wildest dreams, to run for office as the governor of Zamfara State or the office of the governor of Adamawa State. The Nigerian Constitution does not stipulate that the governor of a state must come from the ethnic group in that state or from that region. But by reason of tradition, culture, and convention, these things have been established, and these things reveal clearly the fact that the whole talk about the Nigerian people is a ruse. It is just in the imagination of those who say it. And that is sold as a lie to the people, just to keep people together by force and to just ensure that political power, can be grabbed by the political actors. So, but what am I saying? Now, is that to say that, it is now a very hopeless situation? That to say that, so if there is no Nigerian people, so why then are we talking about Nigeria? Please do not misunderstand me. That is not my take. Even though we do not have at the moment anything called the Nigerian people, it doesn't mean that we cannot aspire to have a functioning Nigerian state. Nigeria is not the only country where you have multiple ethnicities make up the country. And even in those places, they recognize their identity ethnically, but at the same time, they have been able to work together to create a functioning, thriving country. I think that is what Nigerians must sit down together and decide on what to do. I don't think the argument or the debate should be about forcing Nigerians to come together and become these Nigerian people. No. That is not the approach. I do not think that is a viable destination. I don't think that is a possibility. It is part of human nature for every people to be much more comfortable among people of their kind. Yeah, it is part of human nature. It is the reason why a white man is comfortable with a fellow white man. The same thing with the black man, comfortable with a fellow black man. Same reason why an Arab is comfortable with a fellow Arab. However, it does not mean that we cannot create a viable, a functioning country. That everyone, notwithstanding the fact that they have their ethnic identity, can have a sense of belonging as a part of the country and can function together. For example, today in South Africa, which may be my case study. Today in South Africa, notwithstanding their issues, because every country has issues that they are dealing with. Notwithstanding their issues, South Africa today has 11 official languages, and these are languages of different ethnic groups across the country, in Eastern Cape, in Western Cape, in KwaZulu-Natal, across the entire country. 11 official languages. of different ethnic groups across the country. Now, why has South Africa done that? South Africa has done that because South Africa recognizes the ethnic identity of each of those groups. At the same time, it has done that to be able to give all of them a sense of belonging within that entity called South Africa, so that a Zulu can thrive, a Xhosa can thrive, and nobody has any sense of, oh, I've lost out in this deal, or I've been left behind, or I don't count in the debate. No. The way Nigeria is at the moment, unless we want to deceive ourselves and continue to live in self-denial, it is clear that a number of ethnic groups in Nigeria do not have a sense of belonging in the country. There's no point, behaving, pretending as if that is not the case. It is clear that only perhaps one or two ethnic groups in the country, feel like as if they're part of the country. Even from independence, if we cast our mind back to even from independence, I mean, we are all Nigerians, and you can tell me, what your perspective, your view is in the comment section, and we can, just rub minds together. Let us cast our mind back, even back to independence. And I don't want us to get into all of the debates about, oh, the colonial masters, did this, did that, and all that. That may be a convenient argument, but I think we should just move past that and start from October 1st, 1960. Interestingly, we are approaching another October 1st in a couple of days from today. But let us start from October 1st, 1960. What was the structure of the governance as at that time? The country had four, or let us say three major regions: the Western region, the Northern region, and the Eastern region. And you see that those regions were divided along the ethnic lines. And the political parties that were in charge in each of those regions were political parties that were embraced by the people of that region. So in the Western region, you had the Action Group in power, which was more like a Yoruba party. In the North, you had the NPC, which was more like a Hausa Fulani party, even though they may have had a couple of persons from the southern part of the country, but everyone could tell that this party, had the identity of the Hausa Fulani of the north of Nigeria. Maybe only the NCNC, would appear not like an Igbo party, but like a party, that had a mixture of both Igbos and Yorubas and people in Lagos. But the leaders of then felt that that was not a viable system, and that system we continue to promote ethnicity. But the right approach would have been to see how that system could remain, while at the same time there could be a common ground for every region to come together. And then the whole idea of states, was mooted. But that's not even where I'm going to. Look at governance in Nigeria from that time up until today. Look at all the military coups that have been planned in Nigeria, except for the first military coup of January 15, 1966, which, even though it was labeled an Igbo coup, was not really an Igbo coup, because it's clear that the majors in question were just revolutionaries and they wanted, a better Nigeria, to be brought into place. But aside that coup, every other coup in the country has been largely ethnic in nature. Yeah, that is the truth. It has been largely ethnic in nature. They may have picked a couple of guys from other regions, just to legitimize the coup one way or the other. But generally speaking, and if we are going to, be very truthful, all of those coups have been practically by a section of the country. And what simply happened was that even when the country transited into democratic rule, that culture was simply just transferred to the civilian guys. Yeah. And so in 1999, what happened? All in a bid to placate the Yorubas for all that Abiola suffered. Obasanjo and Falaye, were the only guys running for the office of president. Yeah. That was what happened. So it was basically, let's just give power to this ethnic group, to apologize to them for what happened, to Abiola. That's all. It wasn't a question of, who is the best guy to do the job. It wasn't a question of, okay, so how will the other regions feel, in this matter? And that has continued since that time. after Obasanjo, oh, okay, power must then go back to the north, and after, and then, by the end of it, Jonathan came into power, and then Buhari, and this circle has continued. But this circle has continued because we have refused to face the reality. We have preferred self-denial. The reality is that there is nothing like the Nigerian people. Rather, what we have are different ethnic groups that, in fact, are thriving in their ethnic. If you want to put it clearly, are thriving within their ethnic space. Look at the Igbos in the southeast. The Igbos may not really be doing well within the context of the Nigerian question, but in Igbo land, the Igbos are doing very well. Thriving, doing well. Look at the Hausas, Hausa Fulanis. When you go to the north, you can see that when it comes to their farming, their agriculture, the things that are peculiar to their ethnic group, they're thriving in that area. The same thing for other ethnic groups, the Ijaws and all that in the riverine area. Why don't we then recognize these differences, these diversities, this ethnic identity, and they say, you know what? Let's sit down, guys. We are different people. There are Yorubas, there are Igbos, there are Ijaws, there are Ibibios, there are Afangs, there are Nupes, there are Canaries. We are different people. So let us recognize that fact and put that in our constitution. Let us make so many of our indigenous languages official languages in the constitution. Having done that, let us then say, okay, so how then do we form a center, a central government? What will be the structure of that center, of the central government? How do we determine persons who will represent each region or each ethnic group in that center? How will power be shared in that center? In a manner that every ethnic group would have a sense of belonging. Should 2 slots go to the Yorubas? Should 2 slots go to the Igbos? Should 2 slots go to the Ijaws? Every ethnic group must have equal representation in that center. Should we have 3 vice presidents? Should we have 2 vice presidents? Should we have... How do we distribute power at the center? And how do we ensure that that power at the center is just minute? So how do we construct a country whereby most of the power is in the regions or in the states or in the ethnic group closest to the people, where we have perhaps 20% power in the center and that power is distributed evenly? This ought to be the conversation. The conversation not to be about how to, if you may, how to shut out the ethnic groups, close them down, pretend that we are one country, and continue to, if you may, force everyone together, even when people are not working together. So, for me, I just try to give my perspective on that issue. The way things stand in Nigeria at the moment, a lot of people are disillusioned, and it appears more like, a hopeless situation. It is difficult today for Nigerians to come together to fight for the country. Yes, and this is part, and this is, a function of this problem. It is difficult today to find Nigerians come together as a people because you can't find anything called the Nigerian people. If there is a protest tomorrow in Lagos, or maybe there is a strike in Lagos, or a number of persons gather together to demand good governance in Lagos, it will quickly be labeled a protest by those who are in the south. Those who are in the north will not join in, particularly if their son is the one in charge. So let's give a practical example. If there is any agitation in Nigeria now against the government, the Yorubas are likely to quickly label it as, oh, they are trying to remove our son from government. Yeah, simple. If there's any agitation today against the current government, the Yorubas are likely to quickly label it as, oh, they are trying to remove our son from government. Oh, it is a fight against the Yorubas. If tomorrow the Hausas are in power and, even though the government, isn't doing well and the country isn't moving forward, and you tend to challenge the government, you are likely, to see people from his ethnic group, come to defend him, to fight for him, and to shut you down. Why? Because there is nothing called the Nigerian people. What we have are ethnic groups. However, if you can face this reality and come to that point whereby we agree that indeed we have different people in Nigeria. We don't have a Nigerian people. We have the Yoruba people, the Igbo people, Hausa people. A people are a group that have a number of things in common, like language, like culture, like history. And that is what we have in ethnic groups. That is why they are together. That's what makes them a people. You can't find a Nigerian people that have things in common in terms of language. We don't have a common Nigerian language. We don't have a common one Nigerian culture. We may have a common, at least recent Nigerian history, but it's just a recent history. It is not so long enough that, you can count 7, 8, 9, 10 generations. And so where do we find the Nigerian people? My hope is that we can get to that point as a country when the debate will be in this direction. What is the direction? Let us agree that we are different people. Let us give powers to the ethnic groups. If we are going to let us have a confederation, it is fine. Let us make the center as simple and as unattractive as possible. Let us give powers to the center. Let us put resources in the center. No, pardon me. Let us give powers to the region, to the ethnic groups. Let us put resources in the regions, the ethnic groups, or if you call them states, in the states. Then let the people within their own state, within their own region, sit down and decide, okay, we are going to elect a governor. He's from our ethnic group. Or we are going to elect a leader, whatever. And because we elected him and he's close to us, we are close to him, we can hold him accountable. That is my perspective concerning the whole brouhaha, about the Nigerian people. If we do not do this, we would continue to have all of these issues. Tomorrow, it may be another issue as to whether who owns Abuja. Is Abuja for the Hausas or is Abuja a no man's land? We'll keep having that debate. But we must realize and agree that there are people who are indigenous to some places, and there are people who indeed, have a sense of entitlement concerning certain places and what have you. How do we use all of that to build a country? It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. And then we can now see a thriving country where everybody feels a sense of belonging and feels proud to say, this is my country. So, we are just starting a debate. Like I said, this channel is just to document my thoughts and my perspective concerning my country, Nigeria, concerning our politics, leadership, how to get Nigeria to where she ought to be by now. Thank you for listening to today's video and for giving me your attention. I will see you in my next video. Thank you very much.